I'm Ulibile Samoka. Let's take a look at stories making headlines. President Advocate Dumaboko and the leader of opposition, Mr. Dumelan Saleshando, meet to discuss the future of the country. Government calls for the private sector and Botswana at large to help fellow Botswana affected by the heavy rains.
Extension Ghana's football club reveals a 5-year partnership agreement with a South African businessman.
And that is Liza Osakin joining us later on our sport desk. Dr. Taposa is interpreting in sign language. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Now, in our first story, President Advocate Dumaboko has drawn attention to the need for intentional collaboration with the leader of opposition, Mr. Dumelan Saleshando, to deepen, re-energize and develop Botswana's democracy. President Boko highlighted this during a courtesy call on him by the leader of the opposition, Mr. Dumelan Saleshando, this morning. The two leaders used the courtesy call to congratulate each other following the outcome of the 2024 general elections, as well as to discuss how they will put together to shape the future of Botswana for the betterment of its citizenry. Tlotla Matlabapiri has more.
The two political leaders of the ruling UDC and the leader of opposition met officially for the first time following 2024 general elections. The meeting aimed at fostering a dialogue between the two political leaders to facilitate a constructive conversation on democracy and how to shape the political landscape of this country.
Politics needs to be rescued from being bitterly competitive, from acerbic exchanges and utterances, disparagements that are ad hominem, that focus on the person and not the issues. We need to raise our politics above that crass level and reach a level where it is genuinely about ideas and solutions. I extend the brotherly embrace, a hand of friendship, collaboration, of course competition along the way, which is natural in a democracy.
Our democracy needed change. Some had said it will not happen during our lifetime. You and your party have achieved that, and we congratulate you and wish you well. We will play our part. We will indeed focus on the issues, play the ball and not the man. As you've also said, when we criticize, it need not be in a manner that demeans. It can certainly and will be done in a way that shows respect.
When appreciating the meeting, the leader of opposition says he does understand his role in parliament to advise and make the current government take account and responsibility of decisions made to move the country forward.
We know what these roles and responsibilities mean. Fortunately for me, I think I'm happy to have a president who is a former leader of the opposition, who has tasted the hardships that came with the position under previous governments. So you can count on me to engage with you, to identify those issues, and to see how we try and forge some national consensus about the direction in which we want to take the country, even as we may disagree on other issues, be they policy or pieces of legislation brought to Parliament.
I think the real focus of our Parliament should be, in large part, to review all the pieces of legislation that we have. Look at how they interrelate, where there are incongruities, either in policy or in legislation. We need to step in very quickly. We don't have the luxury of time and realign.
President Boko reiterated the need to continually engage with each other, interrogate all decisions thoroughly in order to get a perspective from both the ruling party and the opposition in the context of national development. Tlotla Matlabapiri, BTV News, Gaborone.
Speaking in an interview with BTV News this afternoon, the District Commissioner for Mogoditshane Tamaga District, Ms. Bernice Berman Musime, says that the area disaster team is working tirelessly to ensure that all the victims of the rains receive the necessary help. Mogoditshane village experienced heavy rains on Thursday afternoon, which caused extensive damage, leaving places like Mogoditshane Junior Secondary School counting losses. Abigail Samson has more.
Mogoditshane village experienced heavy rains yesterday around 4 p.m., of which caused some damages in the village. One of the damages included 2 houses of school teachers in Mogoditshane Junior Secondary School, as well as toilets within the school. When it happened, the roof at the students' toilets was blown off and we had to rush the students back to classes. However, we were unaware of the major damage that happened at the staff houses. 32 houses were damaged, of which 2 houses were severely damaged as the entire roofs were completely blown off and everything in the houses was damaged.
Rufu ene ya tswa gotlhelele hela disenke di tsamaela kwa ba senyegelwa ke sengwe le sengwe ga gona sepe se se dule mo se se siameng.
Ke sianetse ha shopong ke ile go batela bana seshabo. My kids were alone in the house, and upon arrival re tlhela gore go sena sepe se.
When the rain started, I was not at home and my kids were alone in the house. Upon arrival, I found out that everything was damaged. Because of these rains, we are not okay, and our children now have trauma. However, we are hopeful that we will receive help. At the moment, we are able to keep some of the things in the school storeroom, and we are just waiting to receive help from authorities.
And we are hopeful that we'll get accommodation as soon as possible.
The village leadership, as well as the district disaster team, indicated that they are working on finding effective ways to help the affected victims of the heavy rains. However, at the moment, they are given temporary shelter and food. Right now, me and my team, accompanied by the National Disaster Committee from State President, we are assessing and compiling a report, which we will submit to our leaders with the hope that we will find a suitable solution. What we realize is that most of the houses in the area are damaged, which has affected many lives, both young and old. From this, I'll meet up with the district commissioner and other appropriate authorities to discuss how we can help those affected. Ms. Berman Musime indicated that Mogoditshane was not the only affected village in the district by the rains, but other areas such as Metsi also experienced floods which affected people's movements. Abigail Samson, BTV News, Mogoditshane.
In the north, residents of Tshwane Malelejwe settlements in Nathagweta constituency in the periphery of Sowatown have not been spared of the ongoing floods that continues to put people's lives on hold as they are not able to cross the flooded Mosetsi River flowing into the Makgadikgadi pen to get goods and services in nearby areas like Soa and Nata. Dotome District Commissioner Ms. Tlotlo Rampa says since Wednesday this week until today, they have evacuated 181 individuals with the help of the Botswana Police Service helicopter to a safer place at Sowatown. Betenemando has more.
Life has turned upside down for the residents of Tshwane Malelejwe settlement as they are no longer able to cross the overflowing Mosetsi River to get basic needs in Soa, Nata and Dugwe. They bear the cost of residing in an ungazetted settlement as there are no developments except a structure used for a mobile clinic. These floods disrupted their daily lives, and with the settlements now hard to reach, they went for days without food as the only tuck shop has run out of stock. We stay in islands And if it floods, we can't get services.
I
am a member of home-based care, and these floods disrupt us from receiving health services. Despite the hiccups experienced by the residents, the Disaster Management Office in Totome worked day and night to rescue those affected, especially the elderly and students, using the Botswana Police Service helicopter after the boat that was initially used was found to be ineffective for this exercise.
Bangwe ba wetswe ke manto ba bangwe dilwana tsa bone dikolobile le ha ne re ile ka kwa mosong ono ne re ithela malwapa bontsi ba anegile dikobo.
When we visited some homesteads, some don't have shelter, and while others, their homesteads are submerged. As you might be aware, in Tshwane Malelejwe, students are taken care of by a council to and from school, but as of now, they were not able to cross Mosetse River because it was overflowing.
Le ba ba thuswang ke council ha dikwele di bulwa ba tsewa mme mo nakong ya gompieno ka gore no ka etetse yona Mosetse e tshela mo lekgadikhading gore ga ba kgone go tola.
Khosi Bohedile Twaelang of Dukwi says it was not easy to convince some residents to be evacuated. It was difficult to evacuate some of them because they told us that they don't want to leave their belongings behind, but they agreed after we convinced them the importance of being rescued. We have accommodated them at Soa Kotla, and they will be taken care of with food and all the basic needs until the situation has normalized. Natagweta constituency was declared a disaster-prone area in 2018. Following the announcement of the Keledi cyclone, this area or these settlements, Tshwane Malelejwe, are likely to be hard hit by another flood. Bethany Manto, BTV News, Tshwane Malelejwe.
Government appeals to the business community, civil society as well as the private sector to join hands in relieving those families affected by the current heavy rains countrywide. This was indicated this morning by the Assistant Minister for State President, Ms. Maipelo Muphuting, when touring some of the places affected by heavy rains in Gaborone and the surrounding areas. Mojedi Mukibelo reports.
Post yesterday's heavy rainfalls, Gaborone and its surrounding areas have been severely affected, leaving many families without shelter, a devastating situation calling for BOTSWANA to come together to comfort and show love and sympathy to those affected by such heavy rains. On her tour, Assistant Minister for State President urged BOTSWANA to show the spirit of compassion to those families affected during these trying times.
Janong, I'm appealing even to the business community. We're going to come and knock on your doors. Let us hold hands as business, as the private sector, civil society organizations, and see what we can do. Let us come together as BOTSWANA during this very, very devastating time. As a people, this is a time that we usually come together as BOTSWANA. So I take solace and refuge in just knowing I know wherever we are, they are going in, but neighbors are housing the neighbor, the walls have come down and so forth.
This has been a nightmare to those families affected as they lost their properties to damage. These heavy rainfalls have severely damaged my car screen. As a family, we all have mixed emotions now, and we need a serious counseling at this moment.
Tiragalo e diragala bone ne ba le mo ntlong ke bangwe ba ba wetsweng ke tsone di ceiling tseng ke ka netehatsa hela gore batho ba rona ba.
We are working tirelessly in ensuring that all families affected get serious counseling.
The
Gaborone City Council is currently working around the clock in assuring the safety of all those affected. Mojadi Mukibelo, BTV News, Gaborone.
The Vice President, who is also the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ndabakawalate, says this year's budget demands them to use every pula wisely and rethink on the nation's priorities and addressing issues such as poverty and unemployment. This was said at a consultative forum for 2025-2026 budget strategy with the local authorities. Minister Kawalate also emphasized the importance of local authorities in the national budget. Khorata Maranyani has more.
As the time for the national budget speech is fast approaching, the Minister of Finance convened a meeting with local authorities to consult and come up with a budget strategy. Minister Raolatli says, with the current economic landscape, locally and internationally, it is important to come up with innovative and disciplined approaches to manage finances. He further emphasized the critical role played by local authorities in helping transform the economy.
This year's budget demands that we rethink our priorities, demands that we reimagine possibilities, requires that we build with purpose. It is about ensuring that every pula is wisely spent, creating real value and addressing the most pressing issues of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, the current economic landscape, both globally and locally, demands that we adopt innovative, disciplined, authentic, and forward-looking approaches to managing our finances. As local authorities, you are a critical delivery arm of government, and it is therefore crucial that we hold you to the highest standards of accountability and urge you to honor your commitment to ensuring the production of accounts on time. Failure to do this points to corporate governance failure and compromises public resource accountability. This, in turn, may also provide fertile ground for maladministration and corruption.
This picture is evidence of government's efforts towards consultation, that is Terisan, a key principle of our development planning process. A sincere thank you to the Vice President and Minister of Finance for organizing this local authorities pizzo. Today's event serves as a powerful reminder to the citizens of Botswana about the importance of their involvement in the national budgeting process.
Local authorities are alive to challenges faced by their citizens and can lead in identifying and implementing solutions to those challenges. They could also provide the leadership needed to attain sustainable economic development by complementing the national policies, plans and programs.
Re tshwantse re amogele goreng e ka nna moepo e ka nna tlhabololo epe yotlhe e dira mo godimo ga lefatshe mme kana ga o ela tlhoko re na le product e re bitsa re secure and title e le ke yone go thusang goreng go ka transact ke yone e le goreng e ka thusa go kabakanya itshulelo e re ga re budgeta as a top priority re invest thata mo go yone secure and title. The workstation.
National budget speech is scheduled for the first week of February this year. Khorata Maranyani, BTV News, Gaborone.
You're watching BTV News. Thank you for staying with us. Now moving on, in his first address to the Super Ministerial Performance Improvement Committee, the Minister of State President, Mr. Moeti Mohasa, urged the leadership to align the ministry's mandate and processes to the ruling Umbrella for Democratic Change manifesto in order to achieve inclusive growth and ensure quality lives for all citizens as promised. He announced that the National Development Plan 12 will be delayed by 4 months as the government is working on aligning it to the manifesto. Mr.
Mohasa said as Botswana celebrates the change of government in a democratic way, the Ministry for State President is charged with the responsibility of tackling the challenges facing the nation, such as low morale, high unemployment, as well as the dwindling coffers of government. He said his ministry is to submit a report on the first 100 days to the Permanent Secretary to the President on the 7th of February.
We must note our commitments and deliverables under the Transitional National Development Plan, which has been extended to July this year. Notably, I must inform you that NDP 12 has been delayed to align it with the new government manifesto and promises in order for the plan to reflect the commitment and demonstrate the willingness to achieve the government ultimate goal. Let me reiterate that the ministry, as the apex ministry, is key in the delivery of national and local level activities and service delivery through its governance, oversight, and administrative functions or institutions. We must lead by example.
Thank you to all the commissioners, director generals, and district commissioners present for sharing your insights and reaffirming your commitment to these goals. As we reflect on the Transitional National Development Plan and preparations for the NDP 12, we acknowledge your monumental task, the monumental task ahead of all of us. It is through your collaboration, teamwork, and strategic foresight that we will, I say that again, that we will succeed.
Government is committed to reforming state-owned enterprises to improve governance.
We will reduce fiscal risks to the government, improve overall economic efficiency, and grant autonomy to some of these departments. The director, for example, wa DCEC, the director wa most of these organizations, it's not DCEC, but including
directors for IEC and DCEC should be interviewed publicly through a parliamentary committee when looking for employment. Transparency is key.
Committee Parliament will make recommendations to the President. Botswana because we emphasize more transparency.
Mr. Mohasa said government is also committed to resuscitating the bargaining council and to improve public officers' morale, and also to devise new strategies in order to address other challenges faced by public officers through the Directorate of Public Service Management. BTV News, Gaborone.
The re-enacted Tribal Land Act of 2018 has brought major changes in the land delivery process and title issuance for tribal land. However, Botswana have raised concern about some of the amendments which they say were too deep and likely to disadvantage most people from owning land. This was shared by Shasha West Member of Parliament, Mr. Jeremiah Frenzel, during a Khotla meeting in Makobo village. Abigail Madurobo has more.
In wake of the concerns, the government adjusted prices for land board departments such as of transferring land rights from 3,000 pula to 500 pula. Paying of business leases agreement is now 10 thebe square meter per annum, among others.
Memo bogompiekong di thotho tse di sha ke gore se tsha se transfer o se tsa go tswa ka go ya ka madi a teng a go buditswe a isitswe go 500 pula. Gore sa bo so sone
the new charges of transferring land rights is now 500 pula. For inheritance plot is 200 pula, while lease payment for a business plot was measured by a square meter and each square meter was 1 pula, and now each square meter is being charged 10 thebe.
Milisi oneo ha we duela ne go mejariwa ka di square meter. Charging ngwe le ngwe ya square meter 1 pula. Me mo madingwana pula square meter gompie go se se diragalang ke gore square meter sengwe le sengwe o se duela madi a kanang ka 10 thebe.
Makobo village is said to be facing shortage of classrooms, and it creates overcrowding of students in classes, unavailability of school stationery, among others.
Renale shortage of furniture mo school. Se se tona se leng gore tota school se la ka sone. Bana ba pitagana.
We are experiencing shortage of furniture in the school, and the main challenge is overcrowding of students in classrooms, and we are pleading for a construction of a classroom block. Moreover, there is no electricity in the guard room at the clinic.
Baitela stand 7 ma stand 5 ya bone ba tshwanetse gore ba tsene mo di classeng tse pedi mme ba khona go tsena mo classeng e le ngwe hela ba go to kopa bidisi gore ba thuse ka crash jana go na le ha guard room teng jana bana ba kopa motakasi mo guard room ya bone ga ena motakasi.
Residents appreciated the Kota meeting, saying it came at the right time as most people are faced with some challenges. Where are we? As the land board keeps on telling us that we are far from the electric transformer, but our plots were allocated by them. In Makobo, we have a challenge of transportation, especially at night. So I'm asking that why can't we have a standby nurse who will be assisting patients at night?
24 hours.
Residents pleaded with their area member of parliament to consider construction of a senior school, as most constituencies have their own senior school. Abigail Madorobo, BTV News, Makobo.
Now time for our international news. Hundreds of opposition supporters protested in Maputo, Mozambique, as Daniel Chapo took his oath as the country's 5th president. Chapo, a 48-year-old law graduate, acknowledged the need to end the instability and called to dialogue to build a united and cohesive country. The recent series of protests and violent crackdowns have left at least 300 people dead, including scores of children. Venancio Mondlane, a 50-year-old pastor, had been leading the push for protest through messages on platforms such as Facebook to demand a restoration of the electoral truth. Some Western countries, including the United States, have also questioned the election's credibility. Well, it is time for sport news. Let's also again on standby.
Thank you so much, Olibile. Good evening. I am Liza Oseke with your World of Sport. And in our leading story, Communications Manager Isaac Mualefe announced a significant development for Extension Ghana's football club, revealing a 5-year partnership agreement with investor Chief Ali Komongwe. Under this new arrangement, Komongwe will assume the role of director, overseeing all team operations. Mualefe expressed optimism, stating that this strategic move is expected to enhance the club's fortunes and drive its development forward. Komoso Safako.
Lobatse-based Extension Gunners, who earned promotion to the Elite League by purchasing status from joining Young Stars, have been facing considerable pressure to perform due to financial constraints. Currently, Mapanzola find themselves in the relegation zone, sitting in 14th place with just 11 points, having registered only 3 wins and 2 draws from 14 matches. This new partnership with South African businessman Chief Ali Komongwe is expected to keep the Gunners ship afloat.
Re dumelana go monela sebaka sa ngwaga tse 5 e tla re morago ngwaga tse 5 re nne ha tse re lebelone ne re.
It is true we have a new investor at Extension Gunners. It's a 5-year agreement. In terms of percentages, we are still discussing. Our objective as management is to see him running the club independently, without the interference from society, for the given 5 years.
Mme ke letso a rona rena re le baetedipele ba renetsweng ke society ne re letsa re monela ska kgorelediwa a e tsamaise ka ha yena itseng ka teng le ka yena a eletsang ka teng.
Komongwe, a renowned football administrator with vast experience, having managed football clubs in South Africa and Eswatini, is expected to bring a wealth of expertise to Extension Gunners.
Ghana football area abroad because it's a youth team, it's a ladies team. Really be
in charge of all the Extension Gunners football matters and in charge of all the teams. the main team, ladies and youth teams. We want the club to be run professionally, and we know he's capable because he's a business professional and he has a vast experience.
Re tleng go rana team tsa rona e le dikompone gonne ha re rana le kompone tseo ke tsone di ka bitsang ba go be gore ba tle mo go tsone ba tle go re thusa.
The 5-year partnership will see Khomongwe running the day-to-day activities of the club to restore its glory days, including both the youth and ladies teams.
Se nka o se netegeletsang ke gone gore re monetse sengwe le sengwe se sentle le se sentle sa Ghana sa ke re se sentle ka ra le tsone dikolo di mo teng ke sone so bana re ha tsena.
He will inherit everything that is Extension Gunners, including our debts. We have opened up to him about our problems and that we need his assistance with things such as players and staff salaries, teams operations and others. We want to see Gunners at the top and running professionally.
Re ntse re sokola re le society gore re ka duela babereki ba rona ke se bona go le maleba gore re kgone re monele re mo ra go senela gore o kgone gore o re ntshe mo melaleng e tle re ha re tla gona le ba moraga bo gangwa ga tsetlhano e be re bona sethopa sa thole se kolota se go leina ke ba re ba kolota.
The agreement is set to run until 2013, upon which the investor and the club's management will review the partnership and determine the best way forward. Sefako, BTV Sport, Gaborone.
Now, with the First Division South League going into Week 8, all eyes will be on log leaders Police 11 as they take on third place Taung Young Strikers. Both teams go into this encounter looking for a win, as a victory for Police 11 will ensure that they stay top of the log standings, while a win for Taung Young Strikers will catapult them to the top of the log standings. Paco Sterek.
Police 11 go into the match with 11 points, which they collected from 6 encounters, from which they managed 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. The Jungle Kings will go into this encounter seeking a win in order to hold on to the top spot on the log standings. On the other hand, Taung Young Strikers go into the match on 10 points from 6 outings, from which they managed 2 wins and 4 draws and no loss so far. In other First Division South fixtures expected over the weekend, Magosi will take a trip to Gaborone, where they will lock horns with UB Hawks at the Botswana Public Service College grounds in a match expected to kick off at 1800 hours. Holy Ghost will host Presence 11 at Holy Ghost Park, while Tlokwen United will take a trip to face St. Diamonds at St. Diamonds ground. Joining Young Stars will take a long trip to Ramonaka, where they will face City Polar at City Polar ground, while Toronto Notwani will host Desert Ngau at Organic Acres ground. Kick-off time for all the games is at 1600 hours. Paco Sterek, PTV Sport.
Meanwhile, the First Division North chairperson Daniel Ngoiketsang says they have decided to postpone Week 8 fixtures that were scheduled for this weekend due to unfavorable weather conditions in the region. First Division matches were supposed to resume over the weekend following the break for festive season in December.
Tota lebaka le golo la gore re bore tsosolo se metshameko e ne le sone seemo sa loapi se sa iketang mo malatsing a neng a ntsa sa tswa go heta ntse di tamogela khosomano ya pula e se kana ka sepe kana se sera gore dithopo tsa rona mabala a ba dirisang for metshameko ya bone ga itshetela mo seemo se le gore phithela re le mo sone sa dipula a ema metsi mo go kgoreletsang metshameko go ka tswelela. But besides le gone go lebela kgang ya mabala hela re lebile gape le kgang ya ditsela ke dimela gore ta ga go le gela gore o ntse o bona mo maranyane gore ditsela dingwe di amilwe ke yone khosomano ne ya pula ga mmogo le one kgakolo ene tswa go bona ba topoloapi ya ka se ke re ikgatholose ka gangwe gape bane ba ntse ba supa gore seemo sa loapi se ntse ka tsela ntseng jang mme se ra tsa tshwetso ka bongela ja pele gore nya ma metshameko ya seterata ga se re emise mme magi supe gore ga ise re wele mo goreng ya go tshameko a leng mme ke dimela re tara ntse go atologa o ka wa re le ha kitsiso mme la gore dumalla gore ra wa simolola ka week number 8 yone le gore ke yone ya kgoreletsega e kgolotswa ke seeme sa pula tota le ruri this thing ya ama both di top le rona a committee o leaky hela ka kakaretso in the sense that kana stop gore so go tshameka go na le mo go teng preparations and ga ka prepare a team from Monday be tare ka Friday kana Thursday ga bona sengwe za go nna jana go ama batshameki even psychologically, in the sense that even financial to the team ka gore batshameki bangwe ba apega go tswa ko ba tswang teng go ya gone ko ikatisong, mme ha ile gore o spendile madi beke yotlhe go sena motshameko o tshameka mme o no ipreparela go tshameka go ka nna le seemo se seng sone. Totally leaky hela ka bo yone hela. It's not that our clubs did tshameka leaky hela. We have got other cup competitions there, the teams are not involved most on the FA Cup. Rena gape le this promotional playoffs tsa go ipatela phata go a go leaking ye kgolwane. Ga seemo se se ka tswelela se go hela go ama dithopa tsele gore di tsa karolo mo dikgaisanong tsone tse, apart from taking part mo leaking. Mme le gone hela ka bo gone go hela go dira gore le tsone fixture ya rona e nne le mo go teng gore go nne le pile e le gore hela no e dira gore go league ya rona e ska hela e wetse kana kwene re sologetse kana kwene re beile, mme so serra se ka ama tsamaiso ya league ya rona.
Well, and that is it for sport this hour. Let's now take a look at stories making headlines once again.
President Advocate Maboko and the leader of opposition, Mr. Dumela Salishando, meet to discuss the future of the country. Government calls for the private sector in Botswana at large to help fellow Botswana affected by the heavy rains.
And in sport, Extension Ghana's football club reveals a 5-year partnership agreement with a South African businessman.
And that is all the news we had for you this hour. To stay with us, weather is up next.
Good evening. Welcome to today's weather forecast. I am Neo Atin. Before we look into tomorrow's weather forecast, let's just take a look at some of the rainfall we recorded this morning at 8 o'clock. 125 millimeters at Mogoditsane Police Station, 100 millimeters at Mogoditsane Khotla and State House, 70 millimeters at Leaders International School in Tamaga, 68 millimeters at Mangkodi Khotla, 55 millimeters at Newas Farm in Tlokwen, 40 millimeters at Silibe Pikwe Med Station and Mushopa Police Station, 40 millimeters at Kabologo Primary School in Pikwe, 35 millimeters at Matatane Primary School, 30 millimeters at Leaders International School in Molepolole, 30 millimeters at Clareselele Primary School, 20 millimeters at Ramatlabama Police Station and Good Hope Med Station, 15 millimeters at Sisung Primary School. The remaining stations recorded less than 15 millimeters. While looking at the current satellite picture, clouds are visible over most parts of the country, and this bluish color shows some of the developing thunderstorms which may possibly thunder or give us rainfall tonight. Tomorrow on Saturday, partly cloudy conditions with isolated thunder showers are anticipated over Kalahari and southern Khanzi. Northern Khanzi, southern Southeast Gauteng, Kwening. Cloudy conditions with isolated thunder showers are expected. For Ngamiland, Chobe, Central and Northeast, cloudy conditions with scattered thunder showers are expected. And due to these heavy rainfalls, the public is advised to take necessary precaution. In the morning, minimum temperatures will be hot over Chobe and Ngamiland of about 20 degrees Celsius. For the remaining district, warm temperatures ranging between 17 degrees Celsius at Jwane to 19 degrees Celsius at Tsabong are anticipated. In the afternoon, temperatures will be slightly uncomfortable for the Kalahari and southern Khanzi, where we are expecting hot temperatures ranging between 33 degrees Celsius at Veda to 35 degrees Celsius at Tsabong. For Chobe, the whole of Central and Northeast, mild temperatures are expected ranging between 24 degrees Celsius at Silibe Pikwe to 26 degrees Celsius at Suapen. For the remaining districts, warm temperatures are expected ranging between 27 degrees Celsius at Lepepe to 31 degrees Celsius at Good Hope. If we look at the weather forecast for this coming weekend, particularly on Sunday, partly cloudy conditions with isolated thunder showers are expected over Kalahari, southern, southeast Gauteng, in the whole of central and northeast. And for Hansi, Ngamiland, and Chobe, cloudy conditions with scattered thunder showers are anticipated. And in the afternoon, hot temperatures are still to persist over Kalahari district, and for the remaining districts, warm temperatures are expected. Well, that's what I had for you this evening. Until we meet again next time, good night.
In this edition of Eye on SADC, EU avails more than $2.2 million to civil society organizations for inclusive green growth. Kasumbalesa border post in Zambia significantly increased its truck parking capacity. And Renoka and the French Alliance of Maseru host farmers market.